Hey, listeners. Welcome to Straight Wife Trans Life. I'm Lisa. A few episodes ago, I mentioned that my transgender spouse was looking for a new job for the first time since transitioning. Great news! She has a new job, and it seems like a really great fit. It is remote-based, but she just attended her first in-person work retreat for 5 days where she did meet all of her coworkers. In this episode, I talked to her about the preparation involved and how she felt after meeting everyone, if being transgender was something people noticed. I think she found a great company. I'd like to welcome back my spouse again.
Hi.
So you just returned from a 5-day work retreat for your new company, which is fully remote. So this is the first time you and your coworkers have met in person. The location was set on a lake, so there were water and hiking activities to consider. And as a transgender person, were you nervous before the trip, and what did you do to prepare?
Yes, I was pretty nervous because I came out at my previous company and everybody that knew me knew. And I had FFS, but here everything is new, and I have this illusion that I will just live my life and present to the world as a lady. To prepare, I still have a lot of facial hair. It's not a lot, but it's a fair amount. And I decided to go and get the electrolysis. I skipped because I lost insurance coverage, which usually pays for my hair removal. So I just didn't want to spend the money, but now, before the insurance kicks in, I decided to go and get the hair removed. Electrolysis is slow, painful. They kill hair by hair with an electric current, and not all the hair follicles grow at once. They go in waves. So even if they had gone through every follicle, they are all going to come back looking really similar. So it takes a long time. So I had 4 2-hour sessions, which helped, but there was still some on the neck, which I had to worry about covering with makeup. I also knew on the program that there were going to be water activities, and I don't feel ready to go into the water as I still have all the original equipment out there, and I am not good at hiding. I usually don't do that. I usually just work around it, but in this case, to go into the water, I needed way better clothes or be really good at hiding And one other thing I didn't consider before that I didn't think much is voice. I think I'm confident with my voice in kind of a relaxed situation like this, but this was a bigger setting and it was loud, so I was also worried about my voice, how it was going to come across.
A van picked you up along with a group of local coworkers for a 4-hour drive that ended up taking longer due to accidents and traffic. But did it feel like a good drive? I know feeling safe is really important. Did you feel safe?
I was mostly terrified, so I sat all the way in the front. I thought maybe somebody will sit on the front and we will chat here and there. But I was really slowly warming up to be around people I never talked to. And also, I don't randomly talk to people. I'm a little bit timid in that sort of setup. So I just sat all the way in the front, didn't talk much, and I ended up having conversations with the driver. And that was the extent of my safety. I didn't feel particularly unsafe. I just was very nervous about being around people.
When do you feel like you started warming up, or when did you sort of feel like, okay, everything's fine?
It took a while because after we arrived, there was a meeting where we had to, not a meeting, but a dinner and a mixer, and we had to introduce ourselves and talk to people. And by then I thought I better get over all this, and I start talking to people. So I kind of did my best to be relaxed and talk to people.
Do you feel like coworkers knew you were transgender? And if so, what gave you that impression? And do you feel like it was maybe at the beginning of the trip, right away, or somewhere in the middle, towards the end?
I'm really sure by the end, several knew. The people closer to me, I'm really happy about my family. I'm really proud of my family. So when they ask about how is your family or what do you do at home, I make sure to bring up that I have a child, that I have a loving spouse, and I'm sure that gave away at least part of it. I think my voice eventually, it didn't perform as well as I expected, so I think that gave it away. I think it happened at different stages. But I feel everybody did their best to treat me normally, and nobody made any particular comment or face or anything. So I don't know. I don't feel terrible about it. I just hope it had gone better.
You mentioned that somebody asked if you were still together with your spouse or if you had a husband, or and how did you respond to those questions?
So there were a few situations. One of them was I was walking back to the hotel in the dark where there was nobody else other than this coworker, this male guy, this guy that is, I don't know, maybe like a foot taller than me. And we talked briefly about our families, or he heard about it. And I think I mentioned my son, and then he turned around and said like, "Oh, so are you still married to your spouse?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I am married. Like, I don't wear a ring, but I talk about my spouse like with all the love and respect anybody would." And that led me to believe like, oh, so he kind of put together in his head like, well, you are trying to look like a woman, but you clearly were a guy before, and like that made me feel weird. And then, I don't know, when we talk about adventures and things, like, you know, informally, I brought up that there's a lawyer in the family, very close. And then my boss asked me directly after a few drinks, "Oh, I heard your husband is a lawyer." And I said, "Oh, no, it's this other relative." He earnestly wanted to know if my husband was a lawyer. And maybe I confused him enough to the point that he actually thought I had a husband. But then again, I could be a trans woman with a husband, which would be probably the most obvious assumption from a transgender person. And then the last thing is that I was talking to other coworker, and somehow we showed photos of our doggies to each other on our phones, and I mentioned my child several times, and I pulled a photo of my son, very recent, and I said, "Oh, and this is my son." And he looked at it and he said, "Oh my God, he's so cute. It's no secret where he got that beautiful, charming smile from." And like, oh, I mean, that makes me feel really, really warm. But like, really, that puts back together like, oh yeah, you're the parent. Anyways, it's a mixed bag.
Oh, that is really nice. I think he understands that you are the biological parent of our son.
Yes, and he looks like a mini-me, and I think it has become obvious that I didn't birth this child myself. But like, yeah, I guess the voice may be one of the most obvious ones.
I'm going to have to agree. I think you're doing a great job with your voice, but I do notice that sometimes it'll go up and down depending on the situation, and it might be a giveaway, which I feel like is something that a lot of transgender people have to work with.
Yeah, you know, like a lot of people talk about their voice training and they get better and they are very proud, kind of like me. And then most of us end up realizing that it's not 100% coverage. And I'm really getting the idea now that I should just try to get surgery. This is really stressful. This is it's not helping me. It doesn't make me feel better when it falls back. I don't see the use of still having the same voice I had before. Yeah, like I really thought I was going to avoid it. I thought like one less surgery, but yeah, no, maybe, most likely not.
So how did it work out with the water sports?
The water sports, that was kind of funny. So we went into this big boat, like a pontoon, and there were these very cool kayaks that we were supposed to jump on and then like paddle around the lake. And we had enough room, exactly the amount of room we needed for everybody to be in one of those things. And then I got ready. I got like some clothes that I thought were going to work out, but for me to hide. But when we were there, I kind of realized like it wasn't going to quite work. It was too hot to wear these clothes. And then I thought if I fall over and these things get wet, it's going to be really, 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 really embarrassing. So when they were loading, I just decided to say like, sorry, no, I'm staying in the boat, in the big pontoon. And I was asked by several people, and several people tried to like, oh my God, it's going to be so fun. Come on, come over. And I just kept on telling them, you know, I had this vision right before this trip that I would be the only person that loses balance and falls over into the water. And I don't want to look like a fool, and my makeup is going to get messed up. And like all ladies acknowledged me and said like, oh yes, me too. Maybe I shouldn't go either. But I ended up staying. Everybody went onto this thing, and then it was shaded in the pontoon. So when everybody came back, they said, you had the best idea because it's so hot out there and it's so tiring and really we didn't go anywhere. So I didn't feel that bad. Some other day we went to the beach. A bunch of people played volleyball. Actually, mostly everybody played volleyball. All the women except myself and two other ladies. We sat under a tree on a bench. It was pretty hot, but we were covered by shade. And these ladies were so happy to be sitting there with me. They were also like, this is too hot. I don't know, these people are playing sports in the hot sand. It's way too hot. So I think I felt like I found some other people that who didn't want to do the sport. Old me would have jumped into the game with no nails and not really worrying about the clothes and the sun. But, I feel okay with the actions I took. And I was happy talking to the ladies.
So overall impression from the week, do you feel like you're at a company that's really supportive and inclusive? You seem happy. I mean, you came home happy and content is what I see. Is that correct?
Yes, so I work in engineering, and it was brought up by my boss, who's like the highest person in the engineering organization. He made sure to say, we need to make this company more diverse. He says that in his previous experience, I think he was a researcher before, he said it's very important. You get a very different result if you have diversity, and we don't have diversity. We are barely getting diversity. And I knew, he's talking about me. I'm like trans, Latina, lesbian, immigrant, English as a second language. So I'm pretty out
Check
there.
all the boxes.
Yeah. And dyslexic, but I don't bring that one up. And colorblind. So anyways, I'm like so diverse.
Color deficient.
Deficient indeed. So that made me feel good. That made me feel welcome that he insisted on that. And when I brought up I know actually some female engineers I respect, I would be happy to ping them and see if they want to join. He was very, very happy about that. So it made me feel accepted. It made me feel like there will be more people similar to me. I think there was one other gay person. I didn't identify any other gay people, but I felt okay. Nobody made any negative comments or faces or anything like that. I didn't get that vibe.
And the company's growing because it's a startup, so there will be more coming. I think that you've really found a great company, and I feel like you are a much happier version of you.
I am happy where I landed. This is a pretty nice place, full of nice people. From here to the moon, yay!
Well, from here to the moon, thanks for always being willing to talk, and I see great things ahead.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.